Sergeant Watts, could you please tell us all what happened on the afternoon of March the 31st when you encountered the defendant?
I was on patrol with Constable Hopwood when we saw a car failing to stop at a red light. We gave chase and caused the car to stop. The defendant, who had been driving, emerged...
Yes?
And when told that he was being charged, became abusive and violent.
Abusive and violent, yes?
Extremely violent, yes. Particularly towards my colleague, Constable Hopwood. It was some time before we could restrain and arrest him.
So if I could ask you this one more time, because this is what is at issue here. Who, in your opinion, was responsible for the violence?
The defendant, Mr. Battersby.
Thank you, Sergeant.
So, you're standing by your colleague, which under other circumstances might be admirable. But I must remind you, Sergeant, we are in a court of law and you have taken an oath.
With respect, sir, I am aware of that.
So, let me put it to you that this outbreak of violence came not from the defendant, but from your colleague, Constable Hopwood. He was the one who launched a savage attack on Mr. Battersby.
That wasn't what I saw.
So you're telling us, having jumped a red light and faced with 2 police officers, Mr. Battersby, what? He went berserk?
He became abusive and had to be restrained.
That's the story you've agreed with Constable Hopwood.
That happens to be the truth.
Thank you. Your Honour.
Thank you, Sergeant.
It's not looking too good, is it?
It never was.
Defence turned out to call their witnesses.
If they can find any, looks like they might have a problem.
You played a blinder.
Oh, yeah?
And am I grateful, Emma?
Do you know why I did it? Do you know why I stood in there and told a pack of lies?
Not really, no, but keep your voice down.
Because I never intended to. Right until I got in that stand. I intended to say, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't like that. It was Constable Hopwood who attacked the defendant.
Yeah, because the defendant had been asking for it.
You know the reason? The reason why I didn't say it was because I was scared. Scared.
Look, there's no point.
I was scared of everything that would have happened if I told the truth. That the trial would have been stopped, there would have been an inquiry, and everyone would have treated me like a leper because I'd let the side down. So that's why, not to support you, but because I'm a coward.
Everybody knows what he's like. Nobody's going to shed any tears over this.
Except in our house, Norman's going to hate me, really hate me.
He'll come round.
No, he won't.
Come on, quick.
Looks like the witness has turned up. I think we should listen to this, eh? Come in.
You go.
Read the words on the card.
This.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are David Arden?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Arden, can you remember where you were on the afternoon of March the 31st?
Out and about, same as I normally am.
And did this being out and about take you anywhere near Livingston Road?
Yes, sir.
While on Livingston Road, did you notice anything unusual?
Yes, sir. There was this police car that had stopped this other car. The police got out, a man and a woman, and they got the man who'd been driving the other car, which was that gentleman over there.
The defendant?
They got him backed up and they were talking to him. I couldn't hear what about. And then suddenly there was arms flying and that gentleman...
The defendant?
He went down. And that's when the policeman just waded in, hitting him and kicking him, giving him a real good working over.
Yes? A real good working over?
Yes, sir.
How many times did the policeman hit and kick the defendant?
I don't know, but a lot.
Approximately?
5 or 6 times at least.
Was the defendant fighting back?
How could he? He was on the floor.
Well, what about the policewoman? What was she doing?
She tried stopping him, but I'd say he only stopped when he decided he'd done enough damage.
Now, I'll ask you once again, Mr. Arden, and this is very important. Was this what you might call a fight, or was it one person assaulting another?
One person assaulting another. The policeman assaulting that gentleman.
Thank you.
Mr. Arden, I take it you don't like the police?
Really, Your Honour, I did hope we might restrict ourselves to questions of fact. I can't see the witness's
Neither do
attitude.
I. Do you think you could rephrase, Mr. Darcy?
With respect, Your Honour, I am informed that the witness is of no fixed abode.
He can still have perfectly good eyesight.
Of course. But, you do live rough, don't you, Mr. Arden?
I do, yeah.
Right. So, back to the afternoon in question. When you saw what was happening, what did you do?
There wasn't much I could do.
But you were there. You were close. How close were you?
20 yards.
So what did you do? Nothing? Just watched?
It was the police, weren't it? I haven't had enough time with them as it is without sticking my nose into something like that.
Really? The police give you a hard enough time, do they?
Sometimes, yeah.
So, all right, you decided not to do anything about it at the time, but, well, how about later? Did you not think to make a complaint?
No chance. Then it'd be me getting it next.
So you saw a man being ill-treated and you decided to do absolutely nothing at all, and then later, well, what? Forgot all about it?
Go on then, say it.
Say what?
Whatever it is you're thinking.
Why did you have to pretend to me?
I wasn't pretending. When I said I was going to tell the truth, I meant it. But then, when I got up there in front of everybody, watching me and waiting for me, I couldn't.
You mean you chose not to?
No, I mean, I couldn't.
Of course you could. You were asked. Do you agree with everything your friend Mick had said? And all you had to say was no. It's as simple as that. No.
And then explain why I'd filed a report saying I did agree with him. Explain why I hadn't told anybody before today. Norman, it was never as simple as that. All right, I know what you think about me. I'm a coward, yeah, and I think it as well, but don't go telling me that all I had to do was say one word and it would all have been over, because it never would have been over.
Oh, no, it wouldn't have been over.
In fact, that would have just been the beginning. And from then on, I'd have been on my own, really on my own, with everybody against me. I couldn't.
I would have stood by you.
You wouldn't have been there.
Of course I would.
What, at the station, at the inquiry?
Well, maybe not, but I would have got you a lawyer.
A lawyer?
Yeah.
And this lawyer would have come into the canteen with me, would he? And sat next to me while everyone I'd worked with for years treated me like a criminal. Or worse than a criminal. Because I'd have done the one thing you don't do. Let down another officer. And for what? Les Battersby?
You wouldn't have been doing it for Les. You'd have been doing it for yourself. You'd have been doing it for us.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
Oh.
Where are you going?
I need some fresh air.
Mr. Battersby, could you tell us what happened on the afternoon of March the 31st?
I certainly can. I was out working as a cabbie, which is what I do. When I get pulled by a police car. And I get out and so, well, it's you know who.
Sergeant Watts and PC Hopwood.
Them. And they're telling me I've jumped a red light. I might have, I don't know. Then all of a sudden, Hopwood tries to land one on me. No reason, just as a go.
It was PC Hopwood who struck the first blow.
And the second, and loads more after that. I had cracked ribs and all sorts.
Did you strike PC Hopwood?
Well, I might have, yeah, once. Once! And that was only my arms coming up, automatic. Like they do when you're being hit.
And what happened then?
Then I went down. And that was when he really got going. Put the boot in, without a word of a lie. I remember thinking, I'm not going to survive this. This fella's out to kill me.
He might get off anyway.
I doubt it somehow.
Well, why not? Loads do, and he's come up with a witness.
So has Mick. Except Mick's witness isn't homeless. Mick's witness is a police sergeant.
All I'm saying is if he does get off, then it won't matter what I said, will it?
Well, it won't matter in terms of how it affects Les.
No.
But it will still mean that you've chosen standing by your mate before standing by the truth.
I know, but it won't have harmed anybody.
Let's just wait for the verdict, shall we?
Cracked ribs.
Yes?
Sustained when PC Hopwood was trying to restrain you and was pulled down on top of you.
No way, come on.
Whilst PC Hopwood himself, and there are the x-rays to prove this, had to be treated for a fractured eye socket.
Well, if he were...
No if about it.
Then that was because I caught him with my arm, like I said. He put me down. Gave me a right going over. And we all know why, don't we?
Because you've been stopped for a traffic offence.
It's not to do with any traffic offence. Excuse me, Your Honour. Only it's all right if I tell the truth, is it?
It's more than all right. It's something you have sworn an oath so to do.
Right. So let's have the truth, shall we? Because I'm sick of this. Hopwood is living with my missus. My wife, what's sat up there. And that's what this is all about. We've already had a few run-ins. So when he stopped me, well, he just couldn't believe his luck, because this was his big chance to stop all the hassle of a divorce and put me away in a box.
These are very serious allegations.
Not as serious as it was for me, lying there having my head kicked in.
So your wife has left you and is living with Constable Hopwood?
And that's what this is all about.
In which case I can well understand that, having been pulled up and seen that it was PC Hopwood who'd stopped you, well, yes, I can imagine that you might have been none too pleased.
No, I wasn't, no.
To the point where you lashed out at him.
In self-defence. Only after he'd had a go at me.
But why should he?
Because he's nicked my missus.
So you are the aggrieved party. You were the one with the reason for resenting him.
I ate his guts, if you really want to know.
And these feelings got the better of you, which is why you attacked him.
How many times? It was him who attacked me.
Yes, well, we'll let the jury decide that, shall we? You're no stranger to a courtroom, are you, Mr. Battersby? You have a number of previous convictions, in fact. Handling stolen goods, burglary, threatening behaviour.
Hey! Hey! He's not allowed to say all this!
Yes, he is. And you must answer.
As well as a previous conviction for assault, yes?
That's got nothing to do with this.
But you do have a previous conviction for assault.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Thank you, Your Honour. No further questions?
Once you raised the question of your wife living with the police...
Which I had to do. That's what it were all about.
That may well have been. But it opened the way for the prosecution to talk about you and your background, as we'd warned you would happen.
We could have tried to stop them. But if we'd failed, it would have looked even worse. As though we were trying to cover something up.
So what you're saying is, I've cocked up, have I?
Well...
I've asked for Constable Hopwood to be recalled. Let's try to get the jury to look at him in a different light. Now they know there's another side to all this.
I thought they might have recalled me as well.
What are you going to say if they do?
Well, same as before. I can hardly change my story now, can I?
Tricky case.
Yes, sir.
It is a bit. You shacked up with his ex. Not an ideal situation.
No, sir.
Still, not much we can do about it now. Perhaps you and I might have a chat about this later, Sergeant. See how things might have been handled differently.
Yes, sir.
We need a verdict on this one for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, we do.
Right, I'm going to have a word with Janice.
She's the enemy, she is.
Yeah, okay, she's my mate, so she's the enemy, so am I. Janice, you all right?
I'm not sure. It's not very nice hearing yourself talked about in court.
No, it can't have been.
I mean, part of me feels really sorry for Les. I don't want to see him go to jail. But then when I hear all these lies he's saying about Mick, another part of me just wants to see him locked up. At least then we'd get a bit of peace.
You stopped the defendant and warned him he would be prosecuted for jumping a red light.
Yes, sir.
Was mention made by either of you of the fact that you are currently living with the defendant's wife?
His former wife.
But they are still married?
Mrs. Battersby is in the process of seeking a divorce.
So they are still married. So, was this the state of affairs referred to on the afternoon in question?
The defendant said something, yes. Most of which I'd rather not repeat.
And that's why you assaulted him?
I didn't. I didn't assault him.
You what? Just took no notice?
I tried to calm things down. But he became increasingly agitated. And then he struck out, hitting my left eye.
But when he was on the floor, that was when you lost control?
No, sir.
There was already bad blood between you. This was your chance. Believing yourself to be protected by your uniform, this was your chance to settle things once and for all.
With respect, sir, that wasn't how it happened.
But you're living with this man's wife. What went on? This confrontation. It was over a lot more than a routine traffic offence. You'll admit that, at least.
I suppose in his mind it might have been, but as far as...
Thank you. No more questions, Your Honour.
Mr. Darcy, do you wish to re-examine?
Just briefly, Your Honour. Constable Hopwood, much is being made of the fact that the woman you live with was once the wife of the defendant. But you're not denying this.
No, sir.
Were you the cause of the breakdown of their marriage?
No, sir. That had happened long before I met Janice, Mrs. Battersby.
So nobody could ever say that you were in any way to blame?
I don't believe they could, sir, no.
How long have you been a serving policeman?
19 years.
And in all that time, have you ever been subject of any disciplinary proceedings?
No, sir.
Have you ever received any commendations?
Yes, sir. Been commended twice.
No further questions, Your Honour.
You can stand down. Mr. Rivers, could we have your closing remarks?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this isn't a beauty contest. You're not being asked to decide who is the better person. All you're being asked is, after all you've heard just now about the background to this case, particularly about the antagonism that already existed between these two men, can you be certain of just what occurred on the afternoon of March the 31st? I put it to you that you can't. None of us can.
Hiya, love.
Hiya.
You all right?
Yeah, all in a day's work.
Shall I give you a hug?
Best save it till later, eh?
Yeah. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault, isn't it? You're having to go through all this.
Don't be daft. It's all because of him in there.
And what happens if he gets found not guilty? Does that mean you're going to get in trouble?
We'll have to wait and see. Won't get me any more commendations.
There have been attempts to confuse you, to suggest that this case is part of some ongoing vendetta, or that we will never know the truth. But we already know the truth. We have had 2 police officers stand up in this court and, under oath, tell us the truth. Which is that the defendant was stopped after committing a traffic offence and then, for whatever reason, and yes, there might well have been reference made to the defendant's estranged wife, but that is neither here nor there. What matters is that the defendant assaulted P.C. Hopwood, causing him serious injury.
Now, if I'd been on that jury...
We've had this all day.
Which I would have been, only knowing your husband made me ineligible.
Can we please stop calling him my husband?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
The defendant, or the prisoner, as they'll be calling him before long.
Do you think?
I know it's fashionable in some quarters to call police, but I know who I'd believe among them in there today.
Well, this is what I'm saying. If I'd been on that jury...
Go on.
The one I would have believed, the only one would have been Emma.
Yeah?
Well, she's the only one with no vested interest, isn't she? I mean, she saw what happened, she told us what she saw. It's good enough for me.
How long do you think it'll be?
Could be minutes, could be hours. They do sometimes say the longer the better.
I don't want to go back inside. I know what it's like, and... Oh, no, God, please. Don't let him send me back inside.
If he gets off, which, to be honest, I think he might, then, well, what I've said won't have done any harm, will it?
It might not have done as much harm.
Look, I'm sorry. I know I've let you down, but I can't do anything about it now.
The jury's on their way back in. All right? He didn't look too happy, did he?
That's because he's married to me.
This is it, then.
Well, they must be unanimous, otherwise they wouldn't have been back this quick.
You mean if you'd been on, they'd have been twice as long?
Hey, if he's not guilty, we'll have to celebrate tonight. Go out somewhere.
Yeah, we will, yeah.
Will the foreman please stand? Mr. Foreman, have the jury reached a verdict on which you are all agreed?
We have.
Do you find the defendant, Leslie Battersby, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You find the defendant guilty, and that is the verdict of you all?
It is.
I thank the jury for their service to the court. Given the defendant's history, I see no necessity for further reports and intend to pass sentence once we have heard any plea for mitigation. Mr. Rivers.
Hey, what's up?
I was hoping he'd get off, which I know it doesn't make any sense seeing as I'm the one who could have got him off and didn't.
Look, Emma, I know how you feel, but it's done. Finished.
Finished? Oh, really? You think it's finished?
Well, OK, the worst part's over.
No, the worst part's going to be when I get home and find out if I've still got a marriage or not.
Well, would it help? Do you want me to have a word with Curly?
And say what?
I don't know. If I tell him that it was me who put pressure on you, that you did it for my sake.
And how's that going to help?
No, maybe not.
Mick, I could have stopped this trial and I chose not to, so thanks. But now I'm the one who has to face the consequences. Oh, and Les. Him as well.
I have listened to what's been said and am taking into account the defendant's record. Also, I might say, the fact that he has shown no remorse, but on the contrary, has attempted to smear the reputations of 2 police officers in an attempt to evade responsibility. Taking all this into account, Leslie Battersby, I sentence you to prison for 6 months. Take him down.
It's all wrong, this. It's all wrong.
Court will rise.